Alright. This is entitled Other People's Dishes. Shelley hated washing other people's dishes. She told him this after dinner the night of their final date. Frank was on the way to the couch with a beer in his hands, his eyes frisking the cushions for the remote. She was in the kitchen, feeling full, staring down into the sink, wondering if she should wash and he should dry. "Okay," she said in her action item voice, "how about I wash the plates and the pots, and you do the glasses and the utensils. And when we're done, we can both chill." This word, chill, wasn't said in the same Tuesday morning tone of the woman who just delegated the dishes. For her, dishes were work, something that needed to get done, and once the chore was behind her, she could be herself and just chill. Chill. She loved this word. Loved the way it tasted. Like refrigerated raspberries dipped in whipped cream, like warm hot chocolate sipped slow, as you listen to the rain from the warmth of a freshly made bed big enough for two. That idle, cozy, drier, warm, dry feeling she used to associate with Sunday afternoons. Chill. She turned around to get a taste of this chill. Wanted to wrap her arms around the waist of a man she knew would understand. She wanted to kiss him on his cheek, spread this chill directly into his veins, until it became so cold that he got straight to those dishes. Shelley took her eyes off of the mound in the sink and turned around. First she sang, "Frank," then she questioned, "Frank, where'd you go?" Frank was already on the couch, left hand patting his recovering belly, remote control steady on his knee. He helped a little with the cooking and a lot with the eating, and though he promised to do the dishes, that was before he realized that his favorite TV show was on, The Simpsons. He would have been laughing out loud, but he held it in because he didn't want to enjoy anything until Shelley was there. These are the types of things they always did together. And since she was still in the kitchen, laughing out loud still somehow felt wrong. But it was funny. In this episode, Homer was up in heaven, sitting in a chair next to God, having a lengthy conversation about something important. Then God, trying to figure out exactly why Homer had come to see him, went ahead and asked, "Let me guess, you want help with your alcohol problem?" And Homer shook his head and said, "No." He said calmly, "No thanks, God, I'm in a good place with alcohol right now." And that's exactly how he felt with Shelley. He was in a good place right now. Who else could he text on a Sunday afternoon, a rainy one at that, and say, "Want to come over and have some dinner?" And who else would reply just a few moments later with, "Sounds chill. I'll cook as long as you wash the dishes." Only she would say that. And that's why he liked her. She was chill. A rare quality nowadays. And with this in his mind, he realized he wanted her close. So he raised his head and called out to her, "Come sit down, honey, let's chill." She replied in a chilly voice, "Can't, at least not yet." "Sure you can, Shelley. All you gotta do is take one step with the left and then one with the right, and keep doing that until you get to the couch. Then you jump into my lap and I'll catch you. Don't worry, I think you can do it." "No, I'm serious, Frank, I can't." "Why not?" "The dishes." Frank, still facing the TV, said, "I told you I'd do them later. Let's watch the end of The Simpsons, and after that, they're showing a movie at 8, Moonstruck with Cher. You love Cher." And the sound of these words, his simple request for her to sit down, signified somehow Frank's outlook on life. His idea for a nice evening consisted of nothing more than this, the wonderfully quiet joy of putting something off until later. That something was the dishes, and the more he despised what he was putting off, the more putting it off attracted him. The idea of skipping out on his said promise to watch a movie instead was enough to make him sink even further into the couch than he already was, and reach his toes out straight ahead of him for the ottoman, lift his head and turn it as much as he could to see if she was coming. He even fluffed the cushion on the couch to make it comfortable for two, shifted slightly over to the right to make room for her. If only I had my blanket, he thought. Must have left it in my room. "Shelley, before you come, you mind grabbing my dishes?" "Honey," I said, "The Simpsons are on. It's commercials. Commercials only last 3 minutes, and it's already been 2. "Well, you better pause it then, because I'm not leaving dishes in that sink." Annoyed, Frank almost got up, but halfway through the maneuver, His comfortable toes protested, convincing him that it wasn't worth giving up the spot they'd just found on the ottoman. He sunk back down into his chair, confused at why she was acting like this, not knowing what was going on, but only knowing that he didn't like it. The Simpsons music came back on, signaling that the episode was about to resume, so with rushed words, he curtly said, "Then don't." The words flung from the living room like a rubber band, flying all the way from the couch to the mound in the sink, but first hitting her flesh and burning, dissolving, melting the chill. She turned back around and looked at the sink, his sink, and thought of how much it bothered her whenever anybody would make a big meal, use up all the dishes, and just leave them there unwashed and go to watch TV that they've already seen before. This was something she could never understand, and it bothered her for many reasons. 1, because it was gross. 2, because it was gross. 3, because flecks of jelly on a knife, smears of butter on a spoon, the residue stuck to the edges of pans adjured to everything foul, sitting in a metallic hole in the kitchen counter like an unkempt grave. It was her love of well-kept homes that made her see it this way. She knew the sink didn't have to be a grave soaked in its own filth, where food hardens until it soils and waste convenes like drunkards in a crowded bar, meeting, mingling, and readily exchanging fluids. To her, the sink should be a clean compartment for freshly rinsed bowls and plates, a temporary holding facility where dishes rested before being reused and then returned safely to cupboards for proper storage. Thus, she couldn't understand why we all turn them into miniature garbage dumps, making dishes sit there unclean and unhelped, fermenting this foul stench. You leave one dish and then 2, and soon it becomes a pile. And once it's a pile, it's too intimidating to tackle. So the dishes get left, and that, to go back to reasons number 1 and 2, was gross. She tried to let this go. She took a step back towards the couch because she really wanted to chill. But chilling had to be done right, and Frank was doing it wrong. She considered explaining this to him, but couldn't find words to express the dilemma. At least not words that didn't make her seem petty, because she knew that she was far from petty and wanted to make it a point that Frank knew she was actually very chill. The problem was that Shelley knew that once she started watching the movie, chances are she would soon get comfortable, and when she got comfortable, the chances are that she would want some tea. And she would try to resist this urge, but in the middle of the film, it would come back to her. Tea, a warm cup of loose-leaf tea, to sit beneath the blankets while Cher made her laugh and cry at the same time, and look at love and life in new ways that only a proper cup of tea could complement and understand. And at that point, she'd excuse herself without telling Frank where she was going and walk into the kitchen looking for a mug. Then, once she opened every cupboard and cabinet and saw that they were all empty, she knew the only way to fix some tea was by washing some dishes. And in that case, since she saw all of this now, she figured she might as well wash the mug while she was up and get it over with. So she rolled up her sleeves, ran the water, squirted the soap, reached her arms into the waist, and searched with brave fingers for an open mug. Once she found one, she carefully tried to pull it out, but it could only come out by moving around some other dishes. So she tried to grab another, which she thought had a clear path to the surface. She hooked her pinky finger through a handle and pulled, but as she maneuvered her way up, her ring finger got stuck in a slimy pool of chunky tomato residue of a soupy texture. She gasped. Something smelling a week old grabbed her by her hands and tickled her wet wrist with filth. She freed her hands, washing them thoroughly, then raised a finger to her nose and cringed because she could still smell the stench. The movie came on and Frank yelled her name from the couch. "Shelley, do you mind making me one too?" "There should be another mug in the sink." She tossed the mug back into its grave. She walked calmly to the couch where Frank was laughing at the final joke of the Simpsons episode, readjusting his body for the Sunday night movie. She pulled from her hand a filthy, coffee-stained mug, still half full of dishwater, dropped it coldly into his lap, and said, "I don't wash other people's dishes. Enjoy your movie. I'm going home to go chill."